What is up, my hoes? There are some bad Disney animated movies out there, and I mean bad. You got Child Grooming with Lady and the Tramp 2, got the atrocious mediocrity of Home on the Range, and probably most notably Cars 2. Those movies aside, there's one Disney movie, one that came out this year in fact, that's worse than all these movies by far. And I'm talking about Ice Age: The Adventures of Buck Wild. When Disney acquired the entertainment assets of 21st Century Fox in 2019, they now have Blue Sky Studios as well, and Disney, realizing how much of a cash cow Ice Age was, decided to try and milk that cow one more time. Unfortunately, Disney blew this cow to bits with a double-barrel shotgun loaded with flechette rounds. This movie is actually so incredibly bad, it's hard to put into words, but that doesn't mean I'm not gonna try. At the start of the movie, we get a recap of all the gang's adventures from the very first Ice Age movie to Collision Course. The recap is done through cave wall paintings by Ellie. And after the recap, we see Crash and Eddie, and as expected, they're doing some dumb shit. They want to ski down the side of this big-ass mountain steep style, but Ellie puts a stop to it. And you're probably wondering how Ellie puts a stop to it since she's in a cave, like underground, and they're on top of a mountain. Well, I'm going to tell you how. She shouts at them, "You two better not be doing something dangerous," from all the way in her cave. And also, how does she even know that they're doing something stupid? Granted, it's Crash and Eddie, but like still, at that very moment, and her voice wouldn't even carry that far. Gosh, this movie's so bad already, guys. But Crash and Eddie are tired of being bossed around by Ellie, and they both daydream about what it would be like to be independent. And apparently being independent is wearing gold chains and dancing to bad rap music. Damn. Being independent kind of sucks. The scene is just really hard to watch. It makes me cringe so bad that my spine retracts like a slinky, like a bony slinky. The music is just really bad and cringy. And also just Crash and Eddie's dance moves are just, ugh. I just didn't need to see Crash and Eddie dancing to bad rap music and gold change. I could have gone through life without experiencing that. But after that lovely scene, Crash and Eddie reduce the mountain they're on to rubble by sticking a stick in it, all moon landing style. And this causes an avalanche to start. We then switch to the rest of the gang at the bottom of the mountain, hanging out. And it looks pretty chill, not gonna lie. You got your little umbrellas and sunbathing rocks. But their relaxation is short-lived since they see the avalanche coming towards them. They run like mad. They are able to get behind a rock, and so unfortunately they're not eviscerated by the avalanche. Crash and Eddie, however, just snowboard down the avalanche and reunite with the rest of the AM fam. Get it? Get it? AM fam? It's like Animal Fam, but shortened to sound way cool. Gosh, I'm so clever. Crash and Eddie get a stern talking to from Manny, since Crash and Eddie always seem to be getting in some sort of trouble and getting in his way. He's also especially upset that his summer habitat that he took all spring to make was destroyed. And wait, you talking about this habitat? I don't think that even counts as a habitat, man. That's just some rocks and some sticks and some leaves, man. It took you all spring to build that? Sheesh, man, you must have been slacking, dude. But the gang continues to argue about Crash and Eddie, and I just gotta point out that the voice acting is so incredibly bad. It's so bad. They don't sound anything like the original characters. Like, listen to this.
No, your aroma is strong. You'd never survive on your own.
Okay, let's work this out like a family. Manny, use your feeling words. I feel...
I just don't understand. Like, they had to be smoking some mad shit when they were choosing the voice actors for this movie. I'm talking some mad shit. Like, Jamaican tribal crack levels of mad. I do gotta say, though, that I don't think Ellie's voice actor is that bad. It does kind of sound like Ellie, and Diego's voice actor is passable, I guess. But not anyone else's, bro. They suck. Moving on, Crash and Eddie argue with the gang about being able to take care of themselves, and Manny Double Dog dares them to prove that they can be independent. Dude, he pulled out the double dog dare. I mean, Crash and Eddie pretty much screwed. They're pretty much locked in, dude. So the next morning, Crash and Eddie head out on their own, and they go to the dinosaur world from the third movie, and this Triceratops here and his two raptors chase after Crash and Eddie. But fortunately, dumb luck is on the side of the dumb, and Crash and Eddie run off a cliff and are able to escape the raptors. They still, unfortunately, run into trouble, though, and almost get home-runned by this Ankylosaurus. I knew that because I play Ark, and they said playing video games wouldn't teach me anything. But before Crash and Eddie get misted, Buck flies in on a prehistoric chicken and saves them from certain doom. While flying away, Buck literally monologues the entirety of the movie's conflict to us. He says that a dinosaur named Orson just escaped from exile and has returned with his raptors to rule the lost world. And if he succeeds, no mammal will be safe.
Sly dog, you got me monologuing.
Verbatim, bro. They just spoon feed that to us. They don't let it play out. We just saw the Triceratops and Raptors guy, and then Buck's like, he's bad, he's a bad guy. But, I mean, at least they got the same voice actor for Buck. And after Buck figures out that Crash and Eddie ran away, he decides to bring them back to the surface so he can worry about Orson and not babysitting these two mammal malcontents. But before Buck can take them back to the surface, he runs into Orson, the aforementioned Triceratops. And what the fuck? Orson has a huge brain, dude. That puts Megamind to shame, bro. Just kidding. Nothing puts Megamind to shame. And bro, okay, the dialogue here is worse than a middle school play. Buck is like, Orson, how did you escape? No one escapes from Lava Island. And Orson is like, well, I'm very smart. And then Buck asks, well, why didn't you block our path to the mainland? And then Orson says, because the Lost World is for lost species and not dumb mammals. And then Buck is like, but why though? And then Orson says, because dinos rule and mammals drool and you guys bullied me when I was a kid. There's just more stuff explained to us. That's great. Disney thinks we're a bunch of people who didn't graduate preschool, dude. That's great. Buck and the possums dip out before things get ugly, and they retreat to Buck's hideout. There we get more monologuing about Buck's history and his ties to Orson. So apparently Buck was part of this hero squad that ran/protected this watering hole where all animals could come to coexist. And then Orson was like, no, I want to rule everything, and you guys were mean to me. And he kills part of Buck's crew. The remaining member and Buck are able to take down Orson. And he doesn't explain how he does it. He just says that he defeated him. So I don't know. Maybe he used like a Glock or something. Just shot him. He then says that Orson was banished to Lava Island. And we see that Orson was able to control the raptors on the island using fire. Because apparently fire hypnotizes raptors, I guess. Man, if that's true, the cavemen should have had a much easier time. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, after Buck explains how Orson escaped, we see the raptors break into Buck's den and almost devour the possums. But fortunately, gas fills the room, knocking out Buck and the raptors, so I guess they're saved, but at a smelly cost. When Buck comes to, he sees his old partner Z, who is a prehistoric skunk, and she was the one who saved him. She's also the only remaining survivor of Buck's old crew. So Z, Buck, and the possums team up together to find Orson, stop him from taking over the Lost World. When they see an army of raptors head towards the watering hole, they realize that they're gonna need more help to defeat Orson. So they go down to the river so they can get a boat and hop on it and find their animal friend that can defeat Orson. And at the river, they eventually find Buck and Z's bone boat. I don't think that thing is just used for floating on water, if you know what I'm saying. And that's actually what it's called. It is called the bone boat. That's just not me making a stupid joke. They call it that. On the bone boat, we get more character development. Not that kind of character development. Crash and Eddie want to prove themselves independent and worthy of being on Buck's crew, so they steer the ship and go into the jungle to get a bunch of useful things for Buck. But these things aren't very useful since they bring him poisonous berries, venomous jump ropes, and 2 fire-breathing lizards. Buck tells the possums to stay in the boat and out of the jungle since they don't know what's out there. Embarrassed, Crash and Eddie toss their jungle loot off the boat. Except for the fire lizards, they just kind of fold their hands and then the lizards disappear. It's like some David Copperfield shit. Eventually, the gang arrives at their destination and we see the animal that they want to recruit to help them kill Orson. The one who can help them defeat Orson is Mama T-Rex from the 3rd movie. But she does fuck all because she has a toothache and is tired or something. Because when Orson surrounds Buck and the rest of the gang with an army of raptors, she just falls over and does nothing. So that kind of sucks. So the gang is just kind of left to be surrounded by Orson and his raptors. And Buck pulls a hero moment and he turns himself in so the possums and Z can escape. They then retreat to the bone boat and they formulate a plan to save Buck in the Lost World. We then get a training montage of Z and the possums, getting motivated and stuff. Stereotypical training montage. And after that, they go to the watering hole to save Buck and defeat Orson. Meanwhile, the herd is still looking for Crash and Eddie, and they follow their footsteps into the Lost World. They wander around until they bump into the watering hole and see Orson and everybody else fighting. And of course, like badasses, they jump in and do some things that would make PETA very upset. But unfortunately, even though they fight like hell, they're just no match for Orson's big brain raptor army plays. And all of the raptors surround our heroes and the possums, and hope seems lost, but Crash and Eddie pull some real dumb plot device bullshit, and they realize that Orson is controlling the raptors with fire, so they pull out the fire lizards that they made disappear earlier and hypnotize the raptors themselves. That is so incredibly dumb. That is so lazy. That is stupid. So yeah, the day is saved by Crash and Eddie, and they make their mark, and they party to celebrate, and everybody's happy, and everybody's safe, and the movie ends with Crash and Eddie going to live with Buck. Ugh, this movie is so bad. Everything about it is just so awful and lazily done. I've had more fun dreaming about my arms getting ripped off than watching this movie. First off, let's address the atrocity that is the voice acting. Pretty much all of the voices for the characters, except for a select few, do not fit at all. They're just not right. That's all I can say. And since they don't fit, whenever they talk, it's super jarring, because you think it's going to sound like Manny, but then it sounds like Hannibal Lecter, and it's like, all right. And so that just kind of puts a damper on the entire movie, because the characters are talking for most of the movie. And even though they're different, the voice acting itself is really bad. It's not just the voices either that are off. Their personalities are pretty different in some cases. Manny and Ellie actually fight all the time, and they're just more dickish to each other. There's one time where Ellie tells Manny to go sleep somewhere else because he made Crash and Eddie run away. I don't know, just giving them the couch treatment seems kind of cold for Ellie. And Sid is also more of a downer and kind of mean as well. While the herd is searching for Crash and Eddie, Sid says multiple times that they're probably dead and that they should just give up. Bruh, that ain't Sid. Sid is not some cold-hearted killer. He's supposed to be upbeat and optimistic and blissfully ignorant. I mean, they got the blissfully ignorant part right, but they just changed the other parts of his personality so drastically. And some of why the personalities are so shifted is because of the dialogue and how bad it is. Certain characters will just explain everything they're doing or explain certain plot points to us instead of revealing the story through nuance. They just give it to you raw. And Orson is especially guilty of this, because whenever he does something evil, he just explains what he's doing. So there was one time when he said, "It's time to play Drop Goes the Weasel, and that means we're gonna take down Buck Wild." It's like, yeah, okay, I could have guessed that. Also, you could have just said Pop Goes the Weasel and would have made more sense. And there's also another time when he captures Buck and he's like, "Ha, I've got you cornered now. There's nowhere to go. I win." Orson is also just a really shallow character with really no unique qualities at all. And as a villain, he's really lame. He's not likable or hateable, which are the two things that make a good villain. If the villain is hateable and lovable at the same time. But Orson is just neither. He's just there. His motivation is stupid. His story is stupid. It's lame. It's lame. It's really lazily done. And you can tell that they just made Orson just so they could have a villain for the movie. Plot-wise, it's really stupid. You have all these different stories going on at once. You have Crash and Eddie leaving to become independent, and then you have the herd trying to find him, and then you have, Crash, Eddie, and Buck's thing, and then Buck and Z's thing, and it's just like, there's just too much going on. And since you switch between all these plot points throughout the movie, it doesn't make you feel invested in any of the story at all, since it's switching so fast that you don't have any time to develop connection or attachments or feel any emotions. And I also just realized as I'm editing this movie is called Ice Age: The Adventures of Buck Wild, but it's about Crash and Eddie. So even the title of the movie can't figure out what's going on with the plot. And how the plot is resolved is even dumber. You have Crash and Eddie solve the main conflict of the movie with two fire-breathing contrived plot points that were mentioned once. One time. They even disappeared, man. They even disappeared after that one time that they showed up. So yeah, they just have Crash and Eddie pull the fire lizards out instead of having, a creative and understandable way to resolve the plot's main conflict. They just have these two dumpster gremlins pull some BS to resolve the plot. So that's great. And the animation is really bad too. This is 2022, man. The characters shouldn't look like they all have rigor mortis. The movements are very low quality and don't flow at all. Buck is a weasel and he should be like a wiggly woggly wiggly boy, but he's not. His movements are too stiff to be Buck. Doesn't look like Buck. And Diego isn't this fast, strong saber-tooth. He's more of like a slow old geezer. It's their life alert. The textures are very low quality at some points as well. I'm talking like Gmod levels of quality, and that really doesn't help the animation either. Overall, this movie is just lazy. Everything about it is lazily done, and you can tell that Disney just made this to milk a little more money out of the Ice Age franchise. And there's so many other things wrong with this movie that if I tried to address them all, I'd have dementia, Parkinson's, and I'd probably be left in a nursing home left to rot by my family. But thank you for watching my review of this bundle of awful characters wrapped in a shit plot and deep fried in mediocrity. I love you, my hoes, and as always, you can expect more peak cinema content soon. Okay, bye.